Hey, it's Patrick from J&P Cycles, and let's talk about LED lighting for your motorcycle. In my opinion, this is one of the best bang for buck upgrades. They look good and they really, really work. You can see better and people can see you better. There's a ton of lighting out there. All kinds of like flashy things to put under fenders and underglow lighting, all kinds of stuff. But we're gonna keep it to the basics for this. Headlights, taillights, and signal lights. And probably the most important is the headlight. There's a couple ways to skin this cat. You can just do an LED bulb and put that in your stock housing, or you can do a complete sealed beam unit like this one right here. Now the benefits to just doing the bulb is basically price. It's gonna be cheaper to do just the bulb than the sealed beam unit, but sealed beam units over the years have came down quite a bit. So they're actually probably the best way to go because the only benefit to the bulb is just cost. Now, having said that, doing the bulb is way better than your stock probably H4 bulb. How we measure how much better it is kind of two ways. The first way is lumens, and the best way I can describe a lumen rating is quite simply brightness. You're gonna see lumen ratings on lights. They're gonna say on a pretty typical LED sealed beam unit, 6,000 lumens. And to put that in perspective, a stock H4 bulb puts out around 1,000 to 1,500 lumens. So a much brighter light, projects farther, and most times if you get a sealed beam unit, projects wider, which to me is super important because you can see the ditches. The other thing you're gonna get out of an LED headlight is a color difference, which is basically a K rating. So a candle is about 1900 K, where your stock light is gonna be about 2800 K, and again, your LED is gonna come in there around 6000 K. So instead of having like that candle yellow flicker light, you're gonna have this bright white, really clear light. So again, very, very helpful when you're on your motorcycle at nighttime. Beyond that, the nice thing about the sealed beam units is aesthetics. You can get them in a bunch of different flavors, so to speak. You can get them with a black backing, with a chrome backing. You can get the LEDs in different configurations. You can get them in halo versions, and you can get them with programmable LEDs kind of on the outside. So some aesthetic options there as well with the sealed beam units. Now you're gonna say, hey, I have a newer Harley or a newer Indian, and it came with an LED headlight in it. That's great. That's a good upgrade. But there's also a next step you can take in LED headlights, and that's an adaptive headlight. These are a little more expensive, but they're pretty trick. When you're going around a corner, the bike senses the lean angle and it will point those LEDs around the corner for you. So an option for you folks out there that have an LED in your stock bike, you can actually upgrade from that as well. So from the front of the bike, we'll move to the back of the bike to the taillights. Stock taillights, pretty lame. Generally, it's just this red LED enclosure here with an 1157 incandescent bulb back there. Not very bright at all. So to me, the biggest get from switching to an LED taillight is quite simply brightness. That's one of the more dangerous situations, stopping a motorcycle in traffic with people behind you. An LED taillight is going to be much, much more visible, and it gives you some aesthetic options like this one here. You can get a nice smoked lay down unit instead of having it sticking way out there crazy. You can get these in clear, in different shapes and sizes, but they all maintain a very, very high level of brightness that you wouldn't get with the stock version. The other thing about these are you can actually get them so that your turn signals will be kind of programmed into them. So if you want to really clean things up on your bike, but still have a high level of visibility, you can get an LED tail light. You have this really nice bright set of turn signals in here. They're actually more visible than your stock set. Which brings me to turn signals, which probably have more options in these LED categories than anything else. Turn signals is, everything from mild to wild. You can get just stock inserts that fit right behind your stock lens that are incredibly bright. Almost like headlight bright. Another thing about those is you can get those inserts that go from one color to another color when they flash. They may be like a bright white. When you hit your signal button, they turn to an amber color. That's another way to get a car's attention when you're turning. You have the option of going very, very small, putting a really small signal unit on there, but keeping a very bright light in it. There's some very small signals out there that have very bright lights. You can just kind of tuck them away. Or you could go with something like, I love to use those Custom Dynamics wraps. They go over the fork tube. They basically fade away until you hit them, and then boom, there's bright LED lights. Now there's a caveat with LEDs. Do you need a load equalizer? A lot of people either have this question or don't know they need to ask the question. So what happens a lot of times when you switch out your stock incandescents to LEDs is you get a couple of things. One, sometimes they just don't work. What happens most times is they blink really, really fast. And this is actually built into your motorcycle. Because LEDs draw so much less power, it thinks the bulb is out and it makes it blink really, really fast. To mitigate that, we sell load equalizers. Most of them are plug and play. They attach somewhere under the seat and they have your lights work as normal with a nice consistent flash. But again, a nice thing about a load equalizer, most of them have options in them. And you can do things like make your taillight blink 3 times or integrate your turns and your taillight together to all light up as brake lights, where in the past on a stock bike, it would just be your brake light. You can get a load equalizer that will integrate those things together, so when you hit your brakes, you have your taillight lighting up and your turn signals lighting up. So lots of options with load equalizers. I highly recommend a load equalizer if you're putting LED signals on your bike. As always, have any questions, feel free to drop us a comment and go work on those motorcycles.